uma tomada do navio, ainda no porto de Vancouver, mostrando os arranha-céus, a área do porto e as montanhas que cercam e aqui as instalações do porto. Olha, muito bonito, muito bem organizado. Faz inveja muito o porto que nós já estivemos. Uma outra vista dos prédios que cercam o porto. Primeiro dia do... não, segundo dia do navio. Estamos entrando próximo de Ketchikan. Aqui é um estreito onde as correntes se encontram. E se elas estiverem de bom humor, o navio vai passar rápido. Se elas estiverem em sentido contrário, vai nos atrasar. Não sei exatamente o nome dela. Maridão, dá um sorriso. Bom, chegamos, paramos, não sei se, na primeira cidade do Alasca, Ketchikan. Uma cidade bem pequenininha. Estamos no porto. Acho que a única atividade que existe aqui é essa rua do porto. Uma porção de lojinhas pra gente bater perna. O navio tá pertinho. Paizão volta pro navio e eu vou ver lojinha. O dia tá gostoso, como todos os demais. Nem sinal de chuva, nem nada. Estamos em Ketchikan, fazendo uma excursão. A primeira parada é no Sea Park. É um parque muito bonitinho, bem próximo ao centro da cidade. Lots of little fish in the lake. Riozinho que os salmões sobem para desovar. Também as trutas. Eu só de olhar na água já estou gelada. Estamos entrando agora no Totem Heritage Center.
East Alaska, British Columbia, and Washington State. This is the area where totem pole art originated. When you see them outside of this area, they're imports from this area or imitations of some kind. Now, with the age of some of these poles, we don't necessarily know the full information or the full story behind them. Poles are raised to commemorate important events and people. They're not religious, they were not worshipped in any way.
A Paty vai levar uma dessas para a sua coleção do genrinho. As famílias, cada uma com um totem na frente das casas, representando a história e a importância delas. I don't know what.
onde eles mantêm
when the wood gets
as múmias de madeira dos
dry.
toques.
So this may have been from one of the icons in the church or from some other illustration that you've seen. Now the middle figure right here is an Orthodox priest. The young people in the native communities did begin to convert to some of those new churches.
The story.
And so like late 19th century, they began to see floral patterns and European fabrics, but also some of the nuns that were here taught the women to do the flower patterns, and they simply began to incorporate that into their designs as well.
Not native.
Yeah.
These industrial buildings here to our left are part of our fish processing plants. We have the 2 fish processors in addition to the salmon cannery. These
Old Car Museum, especially for Mr. Bolzano.
Oh my goodness. This is a Laurel.
This is Sue Woman. Ela perdeu o marido e a águia lá em cima a auxiliou a encontrá-lo de volta.
They figure by the time it is all said and done, 38 children, 3,800 children. They put their names on the backs of them and then they paint the fronts. That's really amazing. So fun.
Yeah, very.
Into town to visit you for a potlatch, you needed something to put them. You and your family would typically live in the larger building, and then they would have these smaller outbuildings reserved for their guests. And we know it's the eagle because the beak on the bird is actually hooked. That would be home to roughly 30 to 50 people. A building like this, long before nails, screws, and things like this, even this railing would not be here. They were held up by gravity. Gravity. When it came time to build a clam house, they would find something that had easy access to the water out there so they could go fishing and hunting. And also a freshwater stream because they needed water for cooking and cleaning and drinking. Level. And then they would start the process of building, and that was where a potlatch would come in. What they would do when it came time is that they would find the suitable logs that they wanted. They would build a large pit. They would have the pole on site. And when it came time to raise it, you would have a group of people on one side with large, thick cedar rope. And then you would have another group back here. And with somebody with the beat of a drum, slowly raising the pole up. The group back here would actually start the lifting process. Once it got to a certain point, then they would start using what's similar like an A-frame to help support it as it rose. And then you have the other group of people on the front with those big ropes help stabilize it as it starts to make its way up. Once it reaches a certain point, you'd have another group of people on the back side of it with 2 other large cedar ropes. And then once the pole was in an upright position and held stable, everybody around, man, woman, child that wasn't actually in the raising process would find rocks like those there, fill in that hole, and so the weight of the pole itself and the gravity and the rocks, everything would hold that pole upright. They would move on to the next pole, and the next pole. Then they would do the 4 outside poles. These up here would be a little bit more maneuvering, but they would manage to get them up there probably with 2 A-frames and slowly walk them up.
No doors in the house.
We'll actually go around the front of the building and I'll show you how they got in. The crawl space.
The house doors, entrance.
All the way through. It served a couple of purposes. One, for protection. That allowed anybody that was in there, say the men were out fishing or hunting, and they've been having problems with one of the neighboring villages, they could actually say the women and children are in here weaving, cooking, or doing whatever they need to do. Somebody comes in here, you have to imagine, you have to hike up your leg and you have to go in head first. So that allows whomever was in here to see that individual. If they did not recognize that individual, they could actually go get something to defend themselves. They would have plenty of firewood down there. They could actually take that wood, hit that person over the head, either push them out or drag them in and say, hey, you know, who are you? And it also kept them away from predators from coming in and out of there as well. Bears get pretty nosy around here. I had one of them Thursday night trying to get into my hummingbird feeder. So a bear comes up here, he might smell something, hey, I'm going to go check this out, and that gives them a chance to defend themselves against the bears or the wolves that pass through here. But it also acts as a very good source of keeping the heat in during the winter time. You have your smoke hole at the top, which allows the smoke to rise through the center of the clan house there. In the wintertime, if they needed to, they could put cedar branches or something like that over the top of it to kind of diffuse the rain from pouring in. But it also just acted as a draft. It allows the air to circulate through without completely chilling the entire building. You have a nice toasty fire. It didn't fit in with everyone. And the one thing that Eagle Boy did that was frowned upon by some of the people of the community was that he actually fed the eagles. That's where he got his name, Eagle Boy. Well, at the time, fishing had gone really bad, and so the other members of the family decided to leave. And when they left, they actually left Eagle Boy behind. So Eagle Boy was there alone to defend himself. And all this time, he had been feeding the eagles. And he was getting a little hungry and a little bit alone. He woke up one morning and found a fish laying at his feet. And then another fish. And then another fish, and another fish. And this went on for quite some time. So he took that fish, he smoked it and stored it so he had something to eat in the future. Several months later, the other family members returned, expecting not to find Eagle Boy very well, but he was actually healthy and happy and everything. And they're like, why? How did this happen? Well, because I shared what I had with the eagles. They too shared what they had with me, so I was able to store the fish for future use. But should you have come back with nothing, I too will take that fish that the eagles shared with me, and I in turn will share it with you. So basically they're telling you, give what you can, even if it's a little, because at some point in time somebody may return the favor. This time of year, they were getting ready to prepare to smoke salmon. Once the salmon start coming into the waters here, what they will do is they will take the salmon that they've caught, they'll take the heads off, clean them out, and they will hang them from the rafters here. They'll have a nice fire going in here. Once the fire gets down to coals, they'll take alder branches and put those alder branches on the fire, on the coals, and that will create the smoke. Unlike the cultures further north outside of Anchorage and Fairbanks and places like that where they have a long, drier day, they would actually take their fish, clean it, have it hung outside of their residence and let the wind and the sun actually dry their fish for them. That tool is called an adze. And an adze is how they would actually carve the totem pole. Before the trade started here in this area, they would actually find a suitable tree with a suitable branch. They would cut it, let it dry, and then take either beaver's teeth, bone, how they built wooden ships. This is the tool that they use to carve out the wooden ships. The nice smaller tool that they have in the display case right there, along with something like this, is what would carve the bulk of these totem poles. That would be the one that would take the big pieces and things out. With a very light hand over time, they say roughly 1 month for every linear foot of carving. They would have it roughed out, and then they would go back through with a very small, finer tool to get maybe right inside the eyes right here, in and around the bear's teeth or the wolf's teeth. And so that right there would be the little finer details.
Terminado o passeio, voltamos ao bondinho.